Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Janet Naklia. I am a programs manager with Alberta Recreation and Parks Association, also known as ARPA. And I wanted to welcome you here today to, I think, one of the final web online sessions we're doing as part of our Okotoks Indigenous River Camp series. So this originally was a camp on the land, but due to COVID, we've had to pivot a little bit, and we've started to include in-person online training sessions like this so that more people can be reached and more people can connect with elders in a good way. So that is part of that. I also wanted to acknowledge the fact that I am here in Calgary in Mohkinstsis, which is in the Blackfoot traditional territory. And I mentioned that because our two elders are Blackfoot. And so I wanted to respect their connection to the land and to the connection that people have had here since time immemorial. So I wanted to say that as well. So now I am so excited and so pleased to have with us today Daphne, Elders Daphne and Kelly Good Eagle from the Siksika Nation. They have been supporters of ARPA as well as their Choose Well program for quite a while now. And they're going to be sharing with us their personal look into the residential school system. And we know that that has been a very challenging part of our history as a people here together. And so it's such an honor to have them share their wisdom and their learnings with us today. So I'm going to turn it over to Kelly and to Daphne. I do have my tobacco, so I'd like to offer this then to both of you. And I'll give this to you when I see you next in person. And so then I invite you to light the smudge and say the prayer so that we can all, journey forward on this adventure together in a good way and share these difficult and tough conversations that I think everybody needs to have. So this is for you. And Patrick will just stop the recording for now and we'll come back on once the prayer is done.
Kind of got noisy in our alley here. But
I don't know what happened there. Visitors. It's garbage day. I just wanted to thank Daphne and Kelly for that prayer. So Daphne for the prayer and Kelly for the smudge. So for those who are watching this recording after, you're welcome to pray in whatever way is relevant to you. And so I'm now going to turn this over back to Kelly and to Daphne. And I just want to acknowledge too that their role as traditional knowledge keepers and bundle holders. And how amazing and beautiful it was, Daphne, to hear you speak in Blackfoot. Because we know that one of the legacies of residential school was that attempt to end the language. And so I think as a beautiful way to start today, and I wanted to thank you for that, was the gift we had of hearing you speak in Blackfoot. So thank you so much for that. And I'm now going to turn it back to you. So I have told everyone, Daphne, that we're here until 2, but if the conversation goes a little long, it's going to be recorded, so people are welcome to leave and they can hear it later. So, just you're here to tell your story. We are slotted until 1, but you're welcome to share for as long as you like. So I pass it over to you.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Wow, talking about residential schools. For me, it kind of started, when I was younger, actually, when I was really young, a young child, I grew up on the Blackfeet reservation with my mom. And we lived out in a place called Little Badger, down in that southern area in south of Browning, Montana. And we grew up there, really had a good life there. And then we moved to Canada. We went to moved to our relatives in Gleason, Alberta. And actually, when we got there, as soon as we got there, about the day after, next thing there were people there come and confiscated us, and we had to go to. Can you hear that? Can you hear me? And actually got taken to the residential school, and it was really different. Like it was like mandatory. We got there. Had to do all this, strip our clothes, and they did all kinds of stuff, and even cut our hair. At that time, we had real good long hair. They had to cut it just real short. Anyway, actually, that's where I even seen my wife Daphne there one time when I first time I hadn't seen her for like we were kids. Like she used to come and visit us when they were really small. They come to Montana, and I've seen her that one time there. That's where I remember seeing Daphne one time. But anyway, it was really um, it was kind of hard because when we first got there, we had this belief like we used to see these pictorial graphs and pictures, and our grandparents used to talk about how they used to bury people and on stilts above the ground, and we even seen some on our reserve. My dad used to be the one riding horseback when I was small. We seen those way out there, but when we went to the residential school, they took us up. After getting all these things, we had clothes in their hand and blankets, and they were marching us upstairs with the nun and stuff. And then here we got upstairs, and here there was this see all these bunk beds. Oh shit! Oh sorry, I didn't want to. I didn't want to. I didn't want to go in there. It reminded me of those, of those like where they were taking us to where like they're getting us ready for a death, and I didn't like that. And it was really anyway. I was forced to go on there. That first day, I fell off that top bunk. Gee, I had a bloody nose. I caught heck. I got spanked just for falling off, and I had to clean up my own mess, clean up everything. Oh, it was really wicked. But anyway, I went to I guess the sexual, I guess, part. I was kind of eyed out by the one of the cooks. And I became like her favorite. And anyway, she used to take me upstairs to her room and do all kinds of stuff. But anyway, you know, then I remember the good times sometimes too, like going out to play outside and getting to actually see other kids that we hadn't seen for a while, because it seemed like how it was strict, how we were, you know, you had to go to the classroom, like in the line, I really hated that part. And then you have to go back, because it was always like march in a line, but outside was the best time. I remember
Kelly, it's Janet. Could you speak up just a little bit? We're just having a little challenge hearing you from the background noise, but you're doing good. Just a little louder.
um,
Perfect.
I guess the outdoors were, I guess, more the best times I ever had. We could see other kids. We could even see the girls, and we'd talk to them and wave at them, be able to talk with them, and see our other relatives that we hadn't seen for a long time. We used to be able to see my aunt and my cousins, and then when we had to go back in, we never got to see each other. Maybe just rarely, once in a while, maybe when we go eat downstairs and things like that. It was really hard. We used to try to me and my brother all the time. We were pretty notorious for always trying to escape. Um, I remember one time, my brother and I, he came knocking at the window, and he had the truant officer's horse, and he says he got the horse ready. So we started riding. We were gonna go to Browning, Montana, go back to where it was in Montana, where it was safer to get away from the residential school. Gee, we rode all. It was really early. I don't know what time it was, but gee, we come to a place called Arrowwood. It wasn't even that far, maybe about 18 kilometers. But there was a bridge there you had to cross. So we figured, well, we're smart Indians, eh? So what we did is we each jumped off the horse, geez, and we spanked that horse so he could run across. And then along the river, they have those big overhangs, and so we crawled under there, and gee, we must have fell asleep. And next thing we heard just horse. There was a horse, and kind of we both sat up, and there was a truant officer, and he was talking in Blackfoot. He said, "You boys come out of there. I know you guys are in there." And my brother was saying, "How does he know?" We were talking in Blackfoot, and I told him, "How does he know?" And he said, "Well, I can see your footprints." So anyway, actually, we made us walk all the way back, all the way without no ride or nothing, all the way back. And we hadn't eaten all that time. When we got there, oh, the first thing the nuns grabbed us, oh, that was really wicked. Grabbing us by the ear and spanking us, and they had these sticks at that time. They were spanking us before we even seen the main priest. And then when we got in there, oh, it was even worse there. Oh, there we got like slapped right across the face doing for doing all that stuff, for taking off. But me and my brother, we cried, yeah, we cried really hard. And what our punishment was, for 4 days on the south side of our residential school, there was a like a pantry or an outdoor shed, and that's where they put like their vegetables or whatever in there. Anyway, we got locked in there. It was a big padlock. They locked us in there the first day. And gee, my brother was just crying, and we still hadn't eaten all that time. And my brother was just crying. Geez, man, I couldn't. And finally, our eyes must have kind of we got adapted to the darkness. And here along the wall were these big bags of burlap bags of potatoes, eh? So I ripped one open, and to this day, I think I invented this thing. Anyway, what happened while I was cleaning that potato, I punched out like an eye. So I made another eye. And I made a face out of that potato, and I put sticks in it. And I was going like that to my brother, and I was making him laugh. And then he laughed. So to this day, I think I invented Mr. Potato Head. To this day, I don't know if you guys, anybody ever seen Mr. Potato Head? I think I invented that. But anyway, I made my brother stop crying. And then for 4 days, we ate those potatoes. We survived on those. We finally got let out. Oh, it was brutal. It was, it was really hard. And people knew that we're in there. Somehow word got out or whatever. Somehow, next to my mom and dad, they came and got us. They came and got us. They got us out of there. Oh, so grateful. Because actually, we went to two schools. The first one was Olson, um, in Gleason. And oh, that was tough. The first time we used to go there. That's why I guess we used to always get beat up and fight. We had to fight all the time. Even amongst our own friends, even from our own people, we got put down by our own people. You would think being in a residential school and then being away from our folks, we would be more tight or something, but somehow it changed. Like sometimes our own people are really mean against other people. You know, it wasn't just the residential school people that did it. It was even our own people that did it to each other. Our age group did it to our younger groups. Oh man, we lived through that. Oh, it's just so, just really grateful to get out of here. Anyway, when I went to the States, here my mom, they put us in a thing called a boarding school, which was a whole totally different. We got bused to school every day in the yellow bus. We had dorms. It was different. It was totally different. During lunch times, we got to go take off to our grandparents and go visit. But at the end of school, we got bused back to the boarding school. But it was different because my mom and dad, they worked for the Burlington Railroad at that time, and my mom worked as a cook, and my dad worked on the railroad. But it was quite different, and I was so glad to get away from there. That talking about that potato. I had to. There's a lot of us that have like how we healed ourselves. I had to make peace with that because it traumatized me to see a potato, or even in the residential school. Every time they gave us potatoes, the first thing I thought about was being locked, and I couldn't eat that. It took me a long time to get over that, but I made peace with it. That's how I made, because it tastes good with soup and gravy and French fries. I made peace, and that's how I made peace with it. There's a lot of things that I forgave. I forgave that nun, for what she did. I prayed for her and all the things that they did. I forgave them because I had to heal myself. You know, after, like maybe like my fifth grade, I got involved with at school when I was in after we left Canada. I got involved in a student exchange program. Actually, from my fifth grade till 1974, when I graduated high school. Actually, amongst all these non-natives, I graduated number three in my class in 1974. Then I came back out, and the first thing I seen Daphne again because I used to every once in a while I used to come all the way back from the states to Montana. Then I'd go see just to see Daphne at the Stampede. Anyway, but anyway, as soon as I got back, we got married. You know, we just celebrated our 45th anniversary in May 22nd. So I'm so proud of that. But you know how I live my cultural side, like what helped me go through the, I guess, residential school was my prayers. You know, I secretly prayed all the time. I always did that thing, and it was very hard. I'm just going to take a little break and I'll let Daphne speak. I can come back and talk about something, but I'd like to hear Daphne's talk. And
um, when I first at a young age I started um, at the Crowfoot School. It's called St. Joseph's School. It was okay from the start when I started school, and uh, not till I forget what grade it was. I started, uh, and just one time, the it was a nun that was he put all some of the students in front of the class, and we had to read we had to read from the book. It was a thick book, and I remember holding that book, and I was try. I was really young, and each of the students started trying to read from the book. And here at that time we're learning, and when we couldn't say a word, that teacher he hits us behind our head with the book, and some of the young kids would fall, and some of them peed in their pants, being hit behind with the book. So it came to me, and so I started reading, and I couldn't understand this one word, and I was trying to say it, but I next thing I got hit from an, I just felt my ears pop, both ears, and then I was, but I didn't fall. I just stood there, and I was thinking, wonder what's happening with my ears. So the next one started, and so we were all done. But when I went back to I told that nun, my ears are bleeding. I don't know what's wrong with my ears. So he told me to go to the other sister, and she was cleaning my ears. Ever since then, I found out that I was losing my hearing, and it was busted eardrums on both ears. So my mom took me to the Gleason Hospital, and they were looking at and I stayed in that hospital for a while. Um, and then I went back to school, but I couldn't I couldn't really hear in the class. So one of the things that I started failing my grades. I must have failed twice, all because I couldn't hear what the teacher was saying. And so that's why I went back. The older ones that I went into the at the same time, they kept going, but I was behind. So after all this thing happened um, with this other teacher. His name is Mr. Steele. He started hitting all of us, all of the students. That was, I think it was in grade 6 or 7. Um, one of the students was there. Uh, he got put in those potato sack because he wasn't paying attention. And those uh, clothes hanger on the wall, uh, that Mr. Steele hanged him up there, and he had to stay there all day. Every now and then, that boy would say, "I need the bathroom," but the teacher wouldn't respond to him. And at some points, uh, he kept hitting all the students with a big ruler on our arms, our body, and some of the students would tell me, maybe you should put some scribblers between your clothes and wear a sweater. So when they hit you, when he hits you, you won't feel the pain. So I started doing that, and he caught on that, Mr. Steele. He started because we won't do flinch or anything. We just keep sitting still. And next thing he started feeling our arm, and that's when he found out that we were all wearing scribblers in our. And I was really glad to get out of that school because after that my mom and dad they took me here to Calgary to continue school. I was a lot happier. But St. Peter's School, that's another story. The same thing with the teacher. All because I was talking back. This student started picking on me, so I stood up to her, and for standing up to her, I got sent to the office, and I got hit with a ruler across my arms, on both arms. And after that, I told my mother, and she said, "You got him continue with your school." So I did. And when they started with um, my mom she was working with a Plains Indian Culture Survivor School, and um, she was teaching a lot of the students, and she even went to the university to talk about the residential school, but she never talked about what really happened to her. Just things that that nobody knew that she talked about. And when I went to court with her, I was really surprised when she started talking, she um, she started telling all the things that happened. I I um, I just broke down that time, and it was really hard. And I came to understand what they went through was harder than us. My mom was she was the one that was protecting the kids. The kids used to come to her and really hold on to my mother, and my mom would stand up to the nuns and to the priest, and she would try to protect those kids so that nothing happens to them. And for doing that, she got um, she got sent to that Midnapore, um, just down here. with the port where the nun stays. So she got sent there for 1 year, and then after she finished there, that's when she went back to Crowfoot School. And the priest and the nuns, they knew that she's going to start protecting the kids. They wanted her to leave the school, and they started asking my mother's uh, uncles and her aunties how would they uh, get her out of the school to go home. And I guess they told her, well, the only way you can do that is she, uh, she has to get married. So the priest, um, uh, they got my dad to marry my mother. They never knew each other. And right there, my mom said that she didn't even know my dad, and she got married to him. She said, but I was glad to be out of that school, but I was thinking about the kids, you know, and she said I always prayed, for protection for the kids, and she said that she had a good life with my dad. They stayed with each other all that time, and they worked together on uh, uh, my grandfather, Mr. Heavy Shield, and my grandmother, Nite Kukum. Um, they had a lot of horses, and they they had to help them to take care of all the cows and the horses. So my mother said that I really loved riding the horses, and she got to do a lot of things. He said it was. Uh, I'm glad that I did marry your dad. And so when I went for that when I first brought up that residential school about I didn't want to apply, and I kept holding on. I didn't want, so I finally did, and it was easier for me to apply because all the things that happened to me was in record with the hospital and my hearing, because I lost both of my hearing, and I always have to wear a hearing aid. And so that was my life in residential. But it really taught me a lot of things in life. At that as a young age, I was I always spent time with my grandparents and the elders in Siksika. They used to call me the paper woman, um, because I used to ride horses to the each of the elders, and they'll tell me, I want you to go give this to they'll call another elder, uh, uh, Pakitan. He's the one that lives in Sand Hills. So I would ride the horse, and then I go there and I drop those things off, and they always feed me before I go, and they start talking to me, and then I'll go back home and I'll refer the message back to the elders, and that's how I got to learn a lot of the culture and a lot of the things that uh, our elders taught us, and I really enjoyed uh, being with my grandparents and uh, learning a lot of the things that that they were teaching us. Maybe I'll let Kelly finish. My throat is starting to be hoarse.
Yes, I concur with Daphne that in their younger days, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents and learning the cultural side, being taught and going back and forth to Canada and the States when I was really young. You know, I always was my grandparents, and that's how I got to learn. But when I went off to school and from residential school, and then when I went back east, I kind of lost all those different things, you know. But I really, I guess I excelled when I went back east. You know, I still kept my cultural side. I still prayed secretly, but I didn't really tell the people there. But I really excelled. You know, in my younger days, when I was younger with my dad, and then when I first finally got to go back with my dad and them after residential school, geez, you know, my grandparents would, my dad would come home from the work with, you know, from the railroad, and I would jump on him, and gee, he'd start singing Indian. Oh, I really could, I could sing like him, eh? And then my grandparents seen that, and they gave me my first Indian name, which is Pretty Sound. It's kind of a girlish name, but that's how I got my first name. And then when I went back to school, like when I was in back east, you know, I really excelled. You know, I was a really good runner. I was really good athlete. When I was in my last year in junior high and high school, like really separate places. And in my last year of junior high, actually the high school coach came down from the cross country team to watch me and Jeff Frazilla run, and he asked us to come run with the high school team, which we did. Oh my God! See, we ran with the varsity team. We used to come in second, third, first. You know, we win all these JV invitationals and all over. But anyway, there came a time you don't get a jacket till you're like a senior or a junior in high school, a varsity jacket, a big Letterman jacket. But I got one when I was in junior in high school. Me and Jeff, we actually made history. It was in the papers and everything. But what was more amazing, I got my second Indian name. Hold on. Without knowing, you know, there was going to be a big ceremony in the gym, everything. Um, they had, hold on. They flew my mom, my aunt, and my grandparent, my grandfather down without knowing. And in during the ceremony, they said, "We have a special guest here. Here comes my mom, my aunt, and my grandpa. He had his whole outfit on, his whole fucking outfit. They flew him all the way down from Montana to New York, and with you know, they, they actually did a smudging ceremony, a live smudge in front of everybody. And then that's how I got my second Indian name because I won that from running. And that's my second name, Stunner de Piscasi, fast runner. And that's how I got my second Indian name. So, but you know, with that culture, you know, oh, gee, I was homesick after they left so bad. But anyway, I was so fortunate. I have to know because I graduated number three in my class, and I was so fortunate. I couldn't wait to get home. You know, I was gonna join the military, but you know, I almost did, but I went back home instead. And actually, as soon as I got back home, I went to Montana and I met Daphne. We were married that same year. But when I met Daphne, it was like, oh, getting back to my culture. Because na, honest, na to, no, um, Ninai Nima, Chief's daughter, Maggie Blackfoot, Daphne's mom. When I got back with them, oh my gosh, it was just like I was back to my culture. Oh, I was starting to sing. I was because I already sang before I met Daphne, and it was. It's like they taught me back. They taught me back, and then that's how I got back to my society and my culture. Like I've been with the Horns almost for 28 years now. I've been through four bundles, and I've taught that cultural side so much. Where my oldest daughter is older. My youngest daughter right now, my youngest granddaughter Maya or Layla, she's just graduated too, and she all my grandkids they all graduated within the top 10. Even my own daughter Michelle, top 10. And right now my granddaughter, um, uh,
What's that? Your daughter.
my daughter Michelle, which I try to live our life in a parallel way. I really stress our education on my side because I wouldn't be where I am, I guess, without learning all these different sides, with this side. I pushed education so much. Even my daughter, she just graduated, or she holds a bachelor's degree in business in finance, and she's looking for employment now. But she works for the IRS right now for the Indian Residential School, and all my even my two other granddaughters, they went to the States and they graduated too. They got both of them in social. They got their degrees in social. They graduated. So, and then Layla, right now, that the one that just graduated, she is so smart in the cultural science. She's always teaching her peers because she learns a lot of her stuff. And when she talks, so everybody just listens. But she's really, that's how we're living our lives. Got the in a parallel way. We got to do the non-native side and the cultural side because there's so many different attributes you can use from both sides all the time. And you can move forward, and that's how we live to this day. And we really look push our kids that way. We have two more grandkids that we're helping to go through school. They're going to be going online because of this COVID, but it's and it would have been really nice to have a big to see all of you guys in person to talk and share and but residential school has really taught me a lot. Um, even that uh, for the word, there was no really no word for like maybe during early 18s they said it's a kakunin. They start saying I love you, but prior to that,
Mm.
what was that word?
Ikakimat.
Oh, ikakima. They said that everywhere when they were younger. They try hard, which means try hard. They never said I love you. It was always ikakima. Try hard, try hard, and that's how they taught our love. It was harsh, but it was that's how we got to move forward as Indian people, and we always had that, and it's still on. Even when you go to sweats, ikakima, try hard. We're always telling our kids try hard, try hard, try hard. It's another way of saying I love you, and it's installing that I guess that fortitude, that solid base in their life, so they can move forward, so they can, and then the most important things, I guess, I try to, if I was gonna die tomorrow, my kids, I said, one time, yesterday, my granddaughter, Layla said, Grandpa, how can I remember you all the time? How can I remember you? And I said, through smudge. Always remember me through smudge because I taught you to smudge. So every time you smudge, you think of me, you think of the family. You know, as an elder, we're past, we had to learn all these different rights to do different things too. We had to pay protocol just to touch meat, to sew, to hunt, to all kinds of stuff. And we taught our kids this, even when they go out, the simple thing is to get sage. Make sure you put tobacco down. So we're always teaching them. But when I die, that's how I told my kids, remember me through smudge. And we always try to tell them that. So there's so many different things I could tell you. I could go on and on and on. I have no. I wish somebody out there would ask me a question. So,
I'll ask a question.
yes, yes, ask me a
I'm
question.
someone out here.
Yes,
Well, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for sharing that. Like, it's hard, and you're brave and courageous. And I think, too, Daphne, when you were talking about like the TRs, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and everyone telling their story, how brave it was for everyone to step forward. And many people hadn't heard their parents' story until that moment, right? And how that intergenerational trauma, how that trauma went from parent to kid, and that generation ahead of you kept silent. And so this is why we're in an amazing age where we can hear elders like you tell your story so personally, where before for 100 years the stories weren't told. So I have to say thank you for that, because that is an amazing blessing we all have. And of course, the Gakamet, I'm always trying to try really hard. I try really hard, Daphne. Like my philosophy, try hard. And I think too, like that philosophy is that if you try hard, the creator, the universe steps up to meet your effort, right? I think that's also part of that philosophy is that, you know, you give what you receive. And so I think that's also like a key takeaway. So I have a question. So first of all, wiping my tears, that was amazing. Here's a question. So many people probably on this webinar or in Canada still don't, they're aware of residential school. Like we hear that word a lot in the media. People talk about it. They talk about the TRC, but many people haven't heard such personal stories. So how do the rest of us in the mainstream, so say non-Indigenous people, step up to be allies so that we can move forward in a good way? Like how do you see that? Because obviously we're healing together. It is very difficult to hear these stories and know that there's a society that people were complacent for. So how do we heal together?
Well, I'll just let you know, from, I've been working with Alberta House Services since 2009, and I'm still working with them. I work as a traditional wellness counselor now. But from 2009 to 2013, I worked for the residential school program. I was a traditional wellness counselor, where I actually went to 98 hearings with my clients, and I was there, and they divulged stories there. Um, you know, and then we had like debriefings every month, and I heard a lot of stories. There was like what Daphne was saying about her mom, and then even about my mom. I don't really like to talk about my mom, but in residential school, but oh, let's see, the question.
Like, and so the question is like, how do you, and that's great. Yeah. So you're part of it in both ends. So you're healing others and healing yourself. And then, so what do you think, like someone like myself or people who are listening can do? I'm assuming education, like read things, listen to stories, right?
Well,
Um,
what? There are a lot of elders. There's a lot of elders that just, it just, I guess it depends on the mood or circumstances or maybe the geographical location at the time. But if you talk to them and give them protocol, ask them in a good way, usually it depends on it within family. It'll occur to, for them to tell their kids, eh? And then, but as for the public, geez, it's really hard, maybe you just have to somehow approach an elder in a good way, and just talk. There's a lot of us, but I'll tell you one thing: there's a lot of elders out there that never even tried to go through that program for this thing because they didn't want to share, and there was some of them stuff really was traumatic, and they don't want to tell their kids, you know. Half the time, my kids, I haven't even told them half the stuff that ever happened to me. Even my wife, I haven't told her. You know, I'm ashamed of things that happened to me. But it just depends on the person. There's a lot of people that are willing to share. You know, we have maybe every 2 months we'll have my wife will cook or something. We'll have it, and we get all the kids together and we have like a just like we're doing now. We talk. We talk. They could ask us questions. What happened? What did you do then? How did you live? And I don't know. It just have to, I guess, approach it else. There's a
Yeah.
lot of us that are willing to speak. It just depends on who you see. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of the places they only say a few words and that's it, because they can't continue talking. They don't want to. They just want to finish. Because there's some elders that I've asked. They tried to start talking about what happened, but they just stop, and I don't push it.
Yeah, and I think that point of re-traumatizing, right? So I think part of the whole Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and for those who are on the webinar and see this, I will include links on the TRC and other things, other resources you could reference so everyone can see that as well. But part of the challenge was that re-traumatization, right? That people through that whole process had to relive it. And then there was all that trauma that came out. And so, and that's why there were specialists like Kelly, right? Kelly, that when you went in with someone to help through that healing process. And so I think we all need to recognize too with elders is that many of the elders are on a healing journey themselves. So you have that dual role, right? Like where you're healing yourself, you're healing your family, and you're healing your community. And I think I really want to recognize that too, because I know the two of you are very active with ARPA, with their culture camp, and you're also active in your community, your home community in Siksika and here in Calgary. And I know, Kelly, people with pandemics are coming to your door looking for guidance and advice and medicine and like traditional sorts of resources. So I think it's also very important for all of us here to understand the role that elders have right now in terms of healing themselves and also healing the community as they go along that way.
You know, we do a lot of our teachings in a good way. We don't really force it on them. We do it in a gentle way. So this way they can incorporate in their everyday life. You know, we always do smudging. I'm so proud of my grandkids. Every day they smudge. You know, when I wake up, maybe they're up before me, but I can smell smudge somewhere. One of my grandkids are smudging. So, you know, like I said, smudge is a very important way to move forward, to make that connection with your soul. You know, even residential school. You know, I didn't get no hugs or no, maybe from that nun, but no real hugs saying, "Oh, I love you," you know, and I pass that on to my grandkids every day. I may even tell everybody, "I love you, I love you, I love you." You know, just that's one of the main ingredients as an elder. You have to really love yourself in order to project that. Because if you don't have that, you know, you're not gonna. Plus, creator.
Well,
It's quite hard, you know. Yeah. So,
know that I love you guys.
hey, hey.
And I also appreciate, I have to say too, for those listening, and when you're interacting with elders, often talking about residential school, there is that sense of humor. So I think you did, in fact, invent Mr. Potato Head, Kelly. So I think you missed
Right on, right on. And while I
That's
was,
why we're sitting by the fence, because
that. You're sitting by the fence.
head.
you know, I was just really praying too that guys got to help the Flames tonight, please. Flames got to win tonight.
Just smudging. And I think too, like even Daphne, you're how clever, like how you're putting your scribblers in your like arms, like this superhero, which is a horrifying story, but also funny when you tell it. So, so I,
humor of the other kids when they start wearing those scribblers, they always going like this.
And I think like when anytime I've heard from elders, it's that the resiliency piece comes from that humor, right? That sense of humor, that connectiveness to something bigger than yourselves, and that commitment that you're breaking the chain, that the next generation, that your kids will experience something different. And I think as a society, all of our jobs is to commit to the fact that that never happens again, and we're working together. That no one's child ever experiences anything like that in Canada's history again.
It just brings everybody together and strengthens our beliefs with each other when you meet a brother, or even not even your brother, but you still. That's my relation. All my relations, all my relations are little flies and ants, everything. Everything.
Plants, everything.
Yeah, all my relations. So that's when you say that,
Nice. Well, we have a few more minutes. You have any final thoughts? Like we're actually coming in on time. We're getting really good at like coming in on time. I'm impressed with us. So any final thoughts you'd like to share with the group or anyone else who watches this? So this webinar, we'll go online and everyone here will get a copy of it, and then others will be able to watch it as well after. So any final thoughts you might want to share with anyone who will watch this after we're done?
It's just to pray, you know, in your own, you know, there's so many people, we all have our own way of praying, but just to pray for yourself, for your family, for the way you're living, and just, and always to teach. You always got to pass on information, knowledge. I guess that's probably why we're as elders. They always come to us because we have knowledge. You know, we have that. So as a person, I always say, pass it on to your kids, teach your kids, show them,
Oh, yes, that's number
show,
one.
always show your kids because that's how we were taught when we were small. You know,
Uh-huh.
we learned it. You know, we learned in a circle. We learned in a circle, and the smudge was the main thing we learned because when we smudge, we made that circle, all the people within that area, an ethical, safe space. So we always teach our kids that, and just to really strive at what you're doing. Try hard. Whatever you do, don't stop. You might fail in one thing, but continue. Even with life, people pass on. I always see people get all, they freak out and they start going haywire. But man, you just gotta, you gotta remember how they live, the good memories, you know, all the good stuff. Just I don't like that. I know we're all gonna die sooner or later, but I always try to, within my time, I'm gonna try to teach as much as I can. So always pass that knowledge on. That's what I guess my main goal is to teach. I guess as an elder, that's my main goal. All the stuff that I learned from the Horn Society, that was their main goal, was to pass it on to the next person. And we've already passed the bundle on to other people, and it's been passed on. So we're making things grow, in a cultural, spiritual way. But just try hard, love the next person, you know, just just try hard, you know, smudge, always smudge and respect who you are, respect Mother Earth, respect Creator, like every day we smudge, every day like we smudged prior, even before we got there, and then we smudged again today, and we'll probably smudge again later on. Just gotta try hard. That's all I gotta say. Pass it on. Love your family. Just love your fellow man and woman. Just that's what makes us strong as Native people. Even with our non-Native people, we all love each other in our own way because we teach other. We're trying to, maybe the modern word is we're all networking, something like that. But just try hard, show your love, and be strong. Don't let anything get you down. Creator's there. A lot of people say they got nobody to turn to, but the Creator's there. And a lot of people too, like these young ones, they try to pray this. I forgot to say that wrong. It doesn't matter how you pray. As long as you pray, the Creator knows what you're thinking. He'll hear you. That's all I gotta say. Gun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just gonna say.
Good. Do you have anything, Daphne? Is that it? You done? Tagapi?
You want to say anything?
I'm okay.
We're good. Awesome. Perfect. I just wanted to read a few comments here before we go.
Okay.
And that basically they're amazing. So here we go, because I don't know if you can see your computer. The one lady said, thank you for sharing. I got emotional with you too during those tough bits. So I think people really hear you. And that was from Danny Long. And then Marissa McIsaac says, thank you so much for sharing such personal stories. My mom and I watched this together. She grew up in a rural area next to Siksika, and these stories are very meaningful to us. So thank you for that. Shelly wants to say she just wanted to know how honored she was to hear your story, that both of you are a gift to our nation. Oh, it's true. We love you. You are a gift. Thank you for your time. And there's a bunch of different thank yous. So, and that they say thank you for sharing. They all wish you well. So, and I think this is I think the final webinar in our series. And you guys, like, it was beautiful. You are amazing. It always is an honor to work with you, to be a part of your lives. And I know how much my life is better for having you in it. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. And I think we are done at 2:02. Oh, and sorry, someone else says, thank you for the emphasis on healing and noting the creator as well. So thank you for all of that. And we are done. So Patrick, you can end the recording. And I just want to thank you all for joining us as well. So
thank you very much, everyone. And thank you very much, everyone. And have an awesome summer. Take care of yourselves. Spread the love and spread the respect. And don't forget to smudge. And have a good day.